Warning: the Dub Talk podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. There will also be spoilers for various anime throughout the course of this episode. Please use caution in case we discuss a series you haven't finished yet. Finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Enjoy the show. Hello, listeners, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Dub Talk, where we talk about the latest and greatest in English dubbed anime, and also probably get shot in the face. That's a new feature. I don't recommend it. Do not order that particular one off the menu. It is more literal than I was expecting. So learn from my mistakes and don't go to the hospital. But in the meantime, you should listen to our new episode, which we are covering one of my favorite shows from... What year was this? I don't remember when this came out anymore.
22.
It was 2022.
Was 22?
Yeah, I think so.
22s. Magnum cost me 22. Shot them on them 22s.
There we go. Yes. Yes, I swear we're professionals. One of my favorite shows of 2022, Akiba Maid War, which I'm very excited to talk about because I think it is wonderful. And it didn't get a lot of discussion on my corner of the internet at the time because it was on High Dive, and no one watches High Dive, to my chagrin. But we're going to talk about it now, and hopefully it'll convince a bunch of you to go watch it because it's a great time. But first, let me introduce my co-hosts for this evening. From left to right on the screen in front of me, we have Jamal.
Always follow the maid's creed. Fuck bitches, get money.
Exactly. Jet.
Hello, Master. Can I interest you in the pork lo mein? Oinky doink.
Thank you, Jet. And last but not least, Hardy.
This is a thumb sandwich. I can only make one more.
Yes, indeed. And as I already said, we are going to be talking about Akiba Maid War. You might be asking yourself, what the hell is that? I feel like I follow most seasonal anime. I haven't heard of this. Well, I'm here to enlighten you, and if you already know what it is, thank you for listening to our episode. We really appreciate it. But to give you a short description, here's a little summary from Sentai Filmworks' website. In an alternate past, the otaku paradise of Akihabara was an unsavory hive of scum and villainy. One thing, however, is sort of the same. Maid cafes. Except maids are the enforcers and assassins for corporate corruption. Which is unfortunate for new maid Nagomi, who was too blinded by the cutesy uniforms and clever waitressing tricks to understand the darker reality of the maid business, until she's already joined the seemingly sweet Oinky Doink cafe with Ranko Men and a approaching middle-aged woman who's very dour and no one's quite sure why she's here. Now, that's not ketchup on table number 5, as the carnage erupts in Akiba Maid War. The show is great. It is really cutesy maids doing horrible violent Yakuza shit. It's wonderful.
If you are new to this, I would highly recommend just, watching episode 1. Just, pause this, go watch episode 1, and then come back.
Oh, no. Here's what you do. You pause this, go to YouTube, and search around for the scene that plays over the song, the Maid's Killer Kiss. Now watch that, then come back here. You're gonna love it. Trust me. It's gonna be great. I am not overselling this, believe me. Okay, you're back. Great. Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's the show. That's the show.
That literally is the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that this series is part of a lineup of what I like to lovingly call Cygames, just, I guess, kind of reviving specific genres through trolling.
It's very weird to me because I had not put together that Cygames was also behind Zombieland Saga until basically I read an article about their entry for this year, Bang Bravern, which is why are Cygames funding all this cool shit? How did this happen? I'm not complaining. I'm just confused.
They got all that Uma Musume money. Might as well use it for something.
Yes,
right?
Yes, I wanted to know what demented weirdo there is no, This is what we should be putting our main money into, not safe bets, odd things. That's where the money is.
This is what happens when you take risks in life, people.
It's great.
Yeah, I can't wait for whatever their stealth, whatever their stealth, oh god, god, why is my butt? Whatever their whatever their stealth, space opera is. I don't know.
Oh, are they making a space opera next? Jesus Christ.
I mean, they are, but I want them to make one.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't know, disguise it as, like, I don't know, like, working at a cafe or something. I don't know. Okay, no, better yet, disguise it as an isekai. Perfect.
It'll be out of this world.
God damn.
Sorry, I had to Andrew it up a little bit.
No, it's fine. It's appropriate. But without further ado, let's get to the meat of the matter. We'll tell you about all the other great things about the show as we talk about the dub. So let's talk about the dub. And since we're talking about the dub, let us start with our crew. Writing and directing this dub on directing duties, we have Joey Gabo, who has directed such works as Blade Runner, Blackout 2022, the 2019 Sentai dub of Saint Seiya, and Shenmue, the animation. And on scripting duties, we have Marta Bechdel, who has written such shows as Anonymous Noise, Dororo, and Land of the Lustrous. Some previous Dub Talk favorites in there. Gentlemen, what did you guys think of this dub as a whole?
I think we should clarify something before we begin, in case somebody was wondering.
Sure.
So, if you have somehow been watching the show and you've been streaming it, you might notice that the English credits are lacking on the simul-dub, as well as the home video dub. We had to contact Sentai themselves and we try to get this information, because for some reason, there's no black scroll card on the Blu-ray, right? Is that what I'm told?
No, there is. It's the same one that's on High Dive.
Yeah, what
That's
the
weird.
fuck? And I had this...
I'm guess licensing bullshit is my guess. Like, I don't know.
Explain the Venus Wars dub, because I miscredited some people on that.
I don't have an answer to that one, and I suspect we're never going to get one.
Oh, that's rhetorical. I didn't expect that.
It just seems like the ability to credit people is getting worse, unfortunately. It sucks.
I don't know. Although I do know that if you email Sentai asking, can you tell me who played these characters, they will find out for you. So, whatever.
That is nice.
Yep. So, I hope someone out there can use our podcast as a resource to credit these on ANN without getting one of those stupid red exclamation points next to the name. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I thought this was a pretty interesting dub. The show in general kind of has a tone of like a weird kind of off-kilter 90s OVA, and I feel like the dub mostly gets through with that in the direction. It kind of has that feel like it goes from being it kind of goes back and forth between being overly literal and extremely punchy when it comes to throwing around a lot of swears or animal puns, and in that respect, I kind of appreciate the latter stuff because I feel like that does a pretty good job of helping lead into the joke. But at the same time, I do feel that that whenever the script does kind of lead into being a little too overly literal, it can make the dialogue occasionally stilted here and there, which does feel a little distracting from how punchy the rest of the show is, and that does end up carrying over to how some of the performances sound. And I do like most of the actors here for the most part. I think the majority of them do a pretty good job, but their delivery can be a little uneven here and there, which is a little unfortunate. But on the whole, I had a pretty fun time with this dub.
Jamal?
Yeah, so I really like this dub and the script. You're right, it does kind of feel like a nice OVA, especially considering the fact that the majority of the story takes place in 1999. So the fact that you kind of said that it had stilted dialogue that may distract from the experience, I think it might have enhanced it a little, because if you've seen some 90s OVAs, man, it's let's just say we kept the the properties of a 90s OVA, but we left some of the sensibilities behind it for good reason.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and especially with the script, because one thing I noticed, because I was watching this again, I finished it for the first time today. When I watched the simuldub originally, because you noticed there was a lot of songs there, they were not dubbed at the time, but however, since the whole video released that, they have since put in some dubbed versions.
That's weird, because I actually remember, I'm actually pretty sure those songs were dubbed when I watched simuldub the first time.
When, originally when it came out.
I remember them being dubbed at the time.
Originally when it came out, because when
but I think they updated the High Dive stream prior to home video, because I definitely watched the dub versions before the Blu-ray came out.
I definitely watched the dub. I definitely watched the dub like as the dub was coming out, and I do recall there being dub singing. So I don't know.
I know at the very least for like Marco's birthday it was dub singing, but the first song in the episode 1, I don't think it was dubbed in simuldub. That's just me. But when I listened to it, I could swear I hear Yumichi's actors saying, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
No, she is. I turned on the closed captioning.
So,
she's saying "fuck you."
Yeah, every time in the job you say like blah blah blah, she say "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
To which I am a little torn on like the singing, because on the one hand you can hear a lot of autotune, which in any other instance would be like really distracting and annoying. But like considering the tone of this show, I feel like in a way that kind of adds on to the joke.
It does.
Yeah. To be fair, the Japanese singers sound like they're also being auto-tuned a little bit anyways, so that's fine.
Yeah, it's not like we're expecting perfection out of this, but I really appreciate the dub for what it was. I will say though, there is one thing it's been kind of hit or miss on, and that was the animal puns it tends to make in regards to the characters.
What are you talking about? They're all awful. They're beautiful.
I mean, no,
looking for a romantic time. Like, these are the worst puns I've ever heard.
Okay, that was a stretch. I mean, there's one like have another. When the cow mage was beating Nagomi senseless. Let's see what else. I can't think of any more off the top of my head.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, there was some that worked, and there was some that you kind of stretched it a bit. I know what you're trying to go for with the show, but I'm kind of hit or miss on that, to be honest. But
I don't think all of them work. But one thing I did appreciate that was just like Chef's Kiss beautiful. For some reason, he decided to give like the kangaroo maid an Australian accent, and it's just like. That's beautiful.
God!
Chef's Kiss.
But of course, she's a kangaroo.
Yeah, she's a kangaroo, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I've watched a lot of Australian TV on YouTube. That did not sound Australian to me. I'm not expecting perfection. I understand what they're going for, but that was a bit of a stretch, to be honest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like that if it were a more accurate Australian accent, I would have liked it less. The cartoony fakeness of it is what made it for me. Much the same way with the puns. They're how egregious and forced they are makes them better.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can be egregious to an extent, you know. I mean, this is pulpy, basically. I realize now it's more like watching a John Woo property, and if you combine the John Woo property with like Romeo Must Die, I guess.
Having watched a couple, I will point out this is not dissimilar from actual Yakuza movies.
I'm not surprised.
Like I've seen part of a Beat Takeshi movie. I recognize what this is like.
Well, I was gonna wait to bring this joke up, especially since you're much more versed in that than I am. But like, having played at least a few Ryu got the studio games, like the Yakuza developers, like this honestly feels like this would be set in that universe. Like I can totally believe that there are just like random Yakuza maids in that universe. It is not that weird.
Yep.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It would definitely not be out of place.
Oh yeah, because you brought up Yakuza. It's Friday night. Yes, it's Friday night, and then we just start dancing on.
Friday night.
And then we just start dancing on the floor, you know.
To which I've been slowly going through Infinite Wealth, and like, there's a random Animal Crossing minigame in that, and that game's beautiful.
Such a good time.
I should probably play Yakuza one of these days.
You should.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely check out Like a Dragon. It's like legit one of the best RPGs I've ever played.
So right now, Mario's just yelling at me.
It also has the best kaiju tag performance I've ever heard. So there's also.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Hardy, do you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, no. I did find some of the acting to be a bit wooden, and something else that maybe it's just a me thing. A lot of the actresses kind of tended to sound similar to one another. Like I had a hard time picking them out from each other. They all had kind of a same vibe, even though you can tell they're different actresses, but they're all sort of putting forth the same sound, if that makes any sense.
I mean that makes sense in that, the what they're going for is Moe Moe Kyun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
But
I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, I really had a fun time with the writing, especially on this one, with all the puns and the foul language, and it just it's so funny watching all these cute girls doing these terrible things and saying these horrible words, and it's best when it's going full ham, when it's going full, what's the word? Ridiculous, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I have a few issues with this dub, mainly some parts of the acting department, but otherwise I really had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this dub. I think it does a good job of matching the energy of the show. I think the awful wordplay is just really entertaining. Just I love puns. I love them so much, and they're so bad here.
Mm-hmm.
It make me so happy. Also, just because I didn't see a credit. I didn't see like a separate like song adaptation credit. So I'm assuming Marta also did the adaptations for the lyrics, and I just want to give credit to those both for being really well done on just like a technical like coming up with English lyrics that match what's happening in the Japanese but make sense in English, and also just for being really funny. It's really funny listening to the maid's killer kiss and realizing, wait a minute, did she talk about shooting you in the head halfway through this? What? Huh? Okay. This is not what I thought this song was going to be about when it started. So yeah, kudos on that front especially. I thought the adaptation for like the 2 or 3 songs we hear in here was like really well executed. I liked it a lot. And on that note, do we want to get started on our first set of characters?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's most.
Okay. All right, so we are going over basically the people who I would broadly call the antagonists of the piece. Maybe 3 antagonists and 1 gray area person. First up, we have Nagi, the woman without whom none of this would have been necessary. She is the head of the maid group that Oinky Doink is a part of. She fought very hard to get where she is today, and by that I mean she assassinated her predecessor, and has generally just grown into a really unpleasant woman. Just very hardcore, doesn't like having to deal with anybody, crushes her enemies with basically no remorse, and really has it out for Ronko for some reason. Is it because they used to be sworn sisters and had a falling out? In addition to her, we have Minami. Minami is basically used to be a big hot shot at the rival maid organization, which was called Maid Alien. But then she went to jail for a long time, and she's only recently just gotten out. She is completely deranged. She is extremely violent. She wields a bat everywhere, and she's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. Like, do you play Yakuza games? Do you like Majima? Ever wished Majima was a hot lady? Well, I have great news for you. She has much better taste in fashion than Majima, but the vibes are there.
Yeah.
And she very valiantly tries to take control of her maid group to what ends up unfortunately being some rather unpleasant ends for various reasons. It's very tragic.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say, I know she's not. I know she's not credited, but like I just want to say I just wanted to give a shout out to Laura Chapman for playing the head of Maid Alien. She was pretty entertaining for the time she was around.
Yeah.
That was pretty delightful.
No, she wasn't in quite enough episodes for me to feel the need to include her here, but she's very good. I like her a lot. She's very conniving.
Definitely terrible way to go out though.
Death by Karbowski.
The cycle. The cycle of violence is a real bitch, you know.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure you can make just like a scientific theory that there are truly no bad baseball episodes in anime.
I feel like you really can make that an argument. That's a great episode. Anyways, in addition to those two, we have a guy who's basically just the deck collector for Nagi's group. He's a dude who dresses like one of those, like, backpack and bandana wearing guys who crawl around Akihabara, except his goal is to go to the maid cafes and make them cough up whatever money they've made. He's just, that's the contrast between the visual and what he's doing is just very fun. And unfortunately, at one point, it's mostly going well until, unfortunately, he screws up big time, and he gets to pay for it. Oh yeah, spoilers for the end of the show, by the way. In case, you haven't listened to one of our episodes before. Not a lot of people make it out of this show.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I mean, technically, he didn't screw up. It was just a negligence on someone else's part. But, man, that's the biggest bitch face I've ever seen on Nagi yet, man. Like, that should be... Yep. That should be a reaction image shot. So that was like bigger than the Hades smoking a cigar gift, you know?
Mm-hmm. It was not a good day for either of them.
Mm-mm.
Him more so. And rounding us off in this section, we have Suhiro. Suhiro, he is a regular at Cafe Oinky Doink. He has a particular liking for Ranko. Which is somewhat unfortunate because it turns out that Suhiro is an assassin, and he's been hired to kill Ranko, as he has murdered many, many other maids in the past. But unfortunately, there's some complications come up about that, which we'll probably talk about them in a minute, but if we don't, I'll leave you to watch the show and find out what's going on. Who's playing these characters? Well, let me tell you. Nagi is being played by Alyssa Simmons, who doesn't have too many credits to her name, but she has played Tanpopo in Blade of the Immortal. She's played Nagapopo in Peter Grill and The Philosopher's Time. Curiously, she did the motion capture for one of the characters in Appleseed Alpha, which is like a 3D animated Appleseed movie from a few years back. And fun trivia, she is in fact the sister of Juliet and Genevieve Simmons. Oh. And Juliet Simmons is... She is in here as the otherwise unnamed Wuv Wuv Moonbeam maid who ends up shanking Ranko towards the end of the show. So, that's fun. Minami is being played by Chelsea McCurdy, who's known for such roles as Kosuke Kira in Batum. It's a great name. Never seen this show, but I love it just for the name alone. Tsubasa Misudachi in Gatchaman Crowd's Insight, and Futaba Isurugi in Review Starlight. The Debt Collector is being played... I've never seen Review Starlight, so I don't know who that character is, but I'm assuming something clicked now.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. The Debt Collector is being played by Jack Stansberry, known for such roles as Dormal Bolstor in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Part 4, apparently. And Todorohiko Saijo in Shenmue the Animation. I think he's probably picked up a few more since then, but I did these credits a while ago. So.
I mean, I can give you a couple more. Mendo in Urusei and Aqua in Ochinoko.
Yeah, those are the two. That was, in fact, the two I was thinking of. Thank you. And Suhiro is being played by Blake Shepard, known for such roles as Soma in Food Wars, Kazuomi Oga in Real Life, and the Dragon Shiryu in Saint Seiya. Because basically every male actor in the Sentai stable is in Saint Seiya, because there's a lot of guys in there. So many guys. Anyways, gentlemen, what do we think about these sets of characters?
I guess going in reverse. Blake Shepard was, he was alright. Definitely not one of his like stronger performances, but he did. He did all right for what he had. The character didn't have like a whole lot of screen time outside of like these one big episode with Rodko. But I thought he did okay for the time he had, and I guess getting across the drama of trying to run away with Rodko and that not quite working out.
Mm-mm.
And Jack Stansbury as the debt collector. Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Jack Stansbury and basically everything I've heard of it, and he was a lot of fun here. Just really, just really good energy. Does a really good job, kind of switching back and forth between sounding like a ruthless debt collector and then kind of like being a suck up whenever he's in front of his bosses. It's great.
Yeah, I the one that always springs to mind is when they're grilling down the the cafe manager, and they've set it up so they're like teeing off from a tea she's holding in her teeth. He's just like antagonizing her the whole time.
And every time she tees off, he goes, "Nice shot."
Yeah. He's very funny.
I sound like that weird announcer guy. Nice shot.
If this whole anime VO thing doesn't work out, Jack can get a good steady gig doing voiceovers for golf games.
I guess continuing. Chelsea's Minami, probably one of the performances I found to be more on the uneven side. I think she does a good general job of getting the attitude across. But I think I kind of wanted it to sound like maybe a little, I guess, edgier in a sense. I guess I kind of wanted the dialogue to kind of have a lot more like crassness to it, and some of that is there. But like I said before, when talking about the script, a lot of the dialogue for the show can kind of go back and forth between being punchy with the swears and then kind of like overly literal at other points. And I feel like at her, I kind of just wanted her to, sound a lot punchier. And I did enjoy the character and her like on-screen presence. She's a fun character. I just kind of wish the performance was a little more even. And I kind of feel the same way about Alyssa Simmons Nagi, though I think that one is a little more consistent. She does a pretty good job of getting the attitude across, like the very take no prisoners, I'm the boss mentality. I think she did a really good job of getting that across pretty well. The dialogue being a little over little points can kind of make a few of her line delivery sound stiff here and there, but for the most part, I thought she did a pretty good job of getting the attitude across. And especially in the last few episodes where she's just kind of like fairly clearly slowly losing it because of like everything that's going on with Franco, and I thought she did a pretty good job there.
All right.
So with Minami, I can understand where you're coming from, Jeff, but I think what you have to keep in mind, the thing is that Minami went to prison for a while, lost almost everything she had in the process. So now she's actually just trying to claim what's hers again, and it's gonna be an uphill fight. It's gonna be a tougher fight than it was before. So the fact that Chelsea kind of sounds a bit unhinged is actually kind of welcoming compared to Nagi's reserved attitude, because they're both craving power, but they both have different ways of going about it. That being said, Alyssa as Nagi is kind of reserved. I can understand where Hardy's coming from with some of the voices kind of blended, because these were the two I was a little mixed up on. But Nagi, when she's speaking to Rocco the baseball episode, you can tell that she's hiding something sinister, and it all kind of came out at the end that she not only had her boss assassinated, she pretty much tricked almost everybody. I mean, the head of the Creature Land group, and she got shot in the head, and it was too late. Nagi gave Maids a bad name. That having been said, I definitely like Jack Stansbury's The Debt Collector, because when I heard this was getting a dub, my first instinct was maybe David Matranga. But But here the between the two, like how I thought it would have sounded and how it actually sounded. Jack kind of has some of the raspiness, but the tone is different on its own. I mean, to the point, he doesn't even, because the character doesn't look brash and off-putting, like, as Amon would describe it, is only the fact that he scored into maid cafes to milk them for the honey money, As opposed to what you would actually see guys wearing clothes like that do in the Akiba, whatever they do, I don't know. And Blake Shepard, I did not realize that was Blake Shepard. I mean, like I said, I finished this for the first time today. Bullshit, that was Blake Shepard. Because usually when I hear Blake Shepard in a Sentai show or something like Real Life or so, he's what I consider to be the Houston equivalent of a giant young Bosch. Because you can kind of hear that perkiness, that kind of upbeat energy, and the tone. It's like, it sounds similar to giant young Bosch, but here he sounds a lot different. And I was kind of amazed. As a matter of fact, I probably should have told him today because I went to a con and he was there. Like, he has the table right next to a Sheep Pods actor, who we'll get to later. And I probably should have told him, hey man, your performance was great, man. You may be discussed on the internet tonight, but it is what it is. And everybody did pretty well. A couple issues here and there, but it is what it is.
Let me see, where do I start? First off, that did not sound like Blake Shepard at all.
That's what I'm saying!
It sounded nigh unrecognizable. Yeah. In fact, I actually had him confused for another actor that we're going to talk about later on tonight. I'm like, is that who I think it is? But no, it wasn't. And he's good, but he doesn't really, like, Suhiro doesn't have a lot of screen time, so he does what he can with the role, and he's all right, not bad. The debt collector Jack Stansbury is very funny, especially in the very few times he actually, flips out, like when he gets too much water.
Yeah.
And also watching him turn into a corn cob as watching the Oinky Doink win the tournament. So he's like, oh, I'm dead. And he was right. But yeah, it's kind of cathartic watching him mistreat the girls, and especially the manager, throughout this entire show, only for them to win and him to get put underground. So, and it never would have happened if the manager had just read the manual.
Yeah, the fact that he just accidentally threw it in the trash is just like 10 out of 10 joke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Minami, for the 2 episodes she's in, she's a whole lot of fun to watch. I think Chelsea had a really good, fun time playing her. And watching Nagi go from this very cold, sinister presence to losing her trash at the end, and going down in an unrepentant and unchangeable state of mind, only for her to get her comeuppance right at the end, was absolutely cathartic to watch. And I think Alyssa was able to balance between her more sane and her more sinister and her more crazed near the end personalities. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Nice. Let's see, what do I have to add? I liked Blake's performance. The character he's playing is, I think, intentionally very muted. So this isn't something like real life where I think he has more opportunity to shine. But he is good for what that character requires, at least. I think Jack Stan very, very funny, as I said earlier. I enjoyed Chelsea McCurdy's performance. I think she got the energy of the character across as somebody who's she's very over the top and manic, but she's also kind of dated. A lot of her character's arc is that the kind of maid that she is doesn't really exist anymore, and so it's a struggle to try and she wants to be in charge, but she lacks a solid base of not a lot of people are behind her because they think she's too over the top and too dangerous. I mean, I thought she got that aspect of the character across really well. I enjoyed her time on screen while she was there. Helping that I think she's a nice contrast with Bronco's actress, who we'll talk about later. And I really liked Alyssa's performance just because I thought she did a really good job getting across just how bitter Nagi is deep down. Like, she has reached the top and she has everything, and she also kind of has nothing because, like, she doesn't have anybody. She just has lackeys, not all of whom she clearly views as just kind of disposable. And there's a real, like, bitter edge to a lot of her performance that I thought was just well executed. And the show is silly, but there is, like, actual drama in here. And I thought that, at least as far as Nagi's story arc goes, Alyssa, like, tapped into that very well. Yeah, like, and some of this might help that just, like, I have played 8 Yakuza games. I've seen variations of these storylines as is, so I have the beats are familiar enough that sometimes I can kind of fill in what's going on, even if, like, I've heard a better version of this, but, like, I know what to expect out of it, and I know how to enjoy it, or something like that. Anywho, shall we move on to our next set of characters?
Or
do you have any last thoughts or something?
Yeah, just one last thing I want to bring up because I forgot to mention before. One aspect of Chelsea's performance is what I did appreciate, just like, I do appreciate how gruff the tone is, which just makes it all the funnier. Just the way she has to say "Woof woof move beam" is just, it's beautiful.
The show does a good job of having a lot of fun with all these like the it's a Yakuza story, but it is all this cutesy maid trapping on top. It's delightful. On that note, let us go on to some more characters. These are not our main maids, but they're kind of associates and friends around the maids. First up, we have the manager of Oinky Doink. She does have a real name, which is Yasuko Yagashi, which I think you only find in, like, some preview trailer. I don't think he was ever referred to by that name in the actual show itself.
And to quote one Amon from the dubbies, her real name is not important.
No, her name is not important, because she sucks. She's the fucking... I mean, she's the worst kind of as a person a little bit, but just, like, she's not a good manager.
This is all her fault.
It's not entirely her fault, but a lot of it's her fault. Her defining moment is probably in the first episode where Ranko and Nagomi have been sent to go get something from a rival maid cafe, which, as we learned, is basically they've been sent off to die as, like, basically like they can die so that we have an excuse to start a war. And the other maids are talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sure they'll be fine." It's like, then why are you making a help wanted sign? And she just turns around and stares at them with this blank expression, like she's hoping they'll just forget about what they just said and stop talking to her.
Yeah, I think my favorite bit is actually in the last episode where Nagomi is, like, lost it. She's like, she's getting ready for war, like, she's like for the counter and all that. The manager just walks in, sees what's happening, immediately closes the door and walks out.
Yeah, she pulls the Dave Simpson.
No, she is. Well, I'll get into why I gave this role a dummy a little bit more when we get to it. But, like, she is just a disaster of a human being. Should not have this job. Don't understand how she got in the first place. We also from Oinky Doink we have Okachimachi, who is just someone in a panda suit who hangs around this pig-themed maid cafe for no real explicable reason for about, like, 9 or 10 episodes, basically.
Yeah.
Later we find out that this is actually the maid that bumped off Ranko's old boss, like, 10 years ago, and she's been in hiding ever since because after she completed the job, Suhiro tried to kill her because he'd been hired to do that, and ended up leaving her for dead.
And then she got run down by EF Honda Civic afterwards.
Yep, she runs away, gets run over by a car, he leaves her for dead, she's actually fine, and she's in hiding in a panda costume for the last 13 years, I think is what they list as how long it's been.
14.
Like, 14, thank you. She also gets up to some other trouble once Suhiro re-enters the picture in ways that were probably not very helpful. She's kind of screw up too. I can understand why she and the manager appear to be friends.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, she does get to do one very useful thing at the very end.
She gets one really, really cool thing right at the end. That is very true. Like, that's great. She just causes a lot of problems on the way. Not intentionally necessarily, but she causes problems. Next up, we have Narula. Narula actually works for the... I forget which one she works for, but she is from Maid Alien. She is one of the rival maid cafes. But she and Nagomi end up becoming best friends. They go through this whole process. They like exchange name tags. They are blood siblings. They're blood sisters. Which of course means that, you know, bad things are gonna happen to her.
Yep.
I've played Yakuza 3. I know how this ends. She's a real sweetheart until then, though. Very sad. We also have the owner of the ramen shop that is underneath Oinky Doink Cafe. He's credited in a few places the general of the ramen shop. I feel like that's an odd translation maybe, but he's the guy who runs the ramen shop. He has been there forever. Everyone goes there to get ramen. It's apparently very good, and he will periodically show up to dispense useful life advice because he's basically the oldest person in the entire show. And then he'll give you, like, you know, whatever ramen you've ordered, basically. His highlight is probably the time that he's out, like, delivering ramen and comes to console Nagomi. And it's like, wait, was this someone's order that you gave me? He's like, goodbye. I'm not going to answer that question.
I'm pretty sure he also sells weapons on the side because at one point he gives Rocco a pack of bullets.
He absolutely does. It's just funnily enough that rarely comes up, and after that first conversation, he mostly just sells ramen. And lastly, we have Michio. She does not have a big role in the show, like in terms of role presence, but she is Ranko and Nagi's old boss. And it is her death that basically kicks off this entire story when she is gunned down in the street on one rainy Tokyo day. She was a big influence on both of them until they started to have disagreements about how she was running their maid cafe, and that is how all of this started. Playing these characters, the manager is being played by Teresa Zimmerman, known for playing Amethyst 33 and 84 in Land of the Lustrous, Saki Kawasaki in My Teenage Romantic Comedy Snafu, and Nanami Kuon in Ya Boy Kongming. Okachimachi is being played by Lucy Christian, known for playing Nami in One Piece. Ochako in My Hero Academia, Hestia in Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and like a billion other things. To be honest, it's a little funny to me that someone as high profile as Lucy is playing such a relatively small role. Like, it just conceptually, it's funny to me. Narula is being played by Annie Wilde, known for such roles as Hatsuka Suzushiro in Call of the Night, Beta in Eminence in Shadow, and Ichika in Ya Boy Kongming. The ramen shop owner is being played by Jay Hickman, known for playing Yasunukami Isaku in Blade of the Immortal, Nizo Okada in Gintama the Movie, and of course, my favorite, Mekazawa in Cromartie High School. And Michio is being played by Donabella Litton, known for such roles as Rose Oriana in Eminence in Shadow, Ai Hoshino in Oshino Ko, and Ran in the newer version of Usura Yatsura. Alright, Jet, do you want to start us off again?
Sure. Starting off with Donna Bella Litton is Michio. I'm usually always a little bit mixed on stuff I hear from Donna. Since I've been doing some of her work, but sometimes her stuff can be a little uneven, and while she doesn't have a whole ton to do here in this show, I did kind of get a little bit of a similar vibe there. I will say though, like, having not seen the credits, I wouldn't have known that was her if I wasn't reading them. So, this definitely did sound notably different than other stuff I've heard from her, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But like, on the whole, I mean, Miss Michio doesn't have like too much dialogue in the grand scheme of things to judge it one way or the other. So, like, it's fine for what it is. Maybe a little uneven, but like it more or less gets the job done for, like, the amount of presence the character has. And then, Jay Hickman as the ramen shop owner. I thought he did a pretty good job here. Did a pretty good job of making the character sound like a man of wisdom. You know, just a guy who's doing his best to get by, you know, doing the maid underworld and all that, and does a pretty good job of like making him sound sagely, dispensing advice and all that. Especially especially kind of like the big stage he has with Nagomi, like shortly after Rula kicks the bucket. Where he's going over how like he's going over like everyone tells me how they like my ramen chop because the flavor never changes, but the truth is I change the flavor all the time, and sometimes you have to change things a little bit in order for them to stay the same. And I thought those are pretty good words of wisdom, and I thought Jay did a pretty good job of getting that across. And then the other thing I like that is also just, I guess, not necessarily unfortunate, but I guess it's just sort of weirdly beautiful in the way this show kind of operates. It's the very last scene this character even has in the show, where he's talking with Nagi, trying to convince her not to go through with the Okinawa Cafe. And then she essentially tells him, like, no one cares about ramen anymore. Dipping noodles are what's in now, and then she shoots him. And then his literal last words are like, darn dipping noodles.
Something of a fucking Zucker and Abrams movie.
This is great. Okay, Eddie Zarula, I thought she did fine. Admittedly, watching the show the first time, I was kind of surprised that this character actually turned out to be like sincere. Literally everything up to her and Nagomi becoming sisters made me think, oh, okay, she's gonna be like a spy or something. But it's like, oh, no, she's just actually a very nice girl, which makes her fate very unfortunate. But I thought it did a pretty good job, kind of getting that kindness across in all of her interactions with Nagomi, and it definitely made me feel very bad when she ends up kicking the bucket. That sucked. And
yeah,
Blue Nutrition is Okachimachi. We don't get too much dialogue with her since she only really speaks in like the last couple of episodes. But I mean, it's Lucy Christian. I've never really heard her turn in a bad performance, and that pretty much holds true here. She does a pretty good job of kind of getting across all the grit this character has for the roles he played in Mitsubishi and stuff, and kind of the deterioration of everything that's going on. And I thought that Lucy did a pretty good job of handling all that. And then again, for as much as the character. For as morally questionable as this character is, it is kind of funny that she's the one who ends up taking out Nagi. And I especially appreciate the way it happens in such a nonchalant way, because, like, even prior to the scene happening, you can see her just, like, carving that bamboo stick, and you don't know why she's doing it. And then when she finally throws it, it's like, oh, okay. That's perfect.
She got her revenge in the end.
Yeah. And then Teresa, she's a lot of fun as a manager. I will admit, I do think she needed like an episode or two to like fully get into character, and her delivery before them was maybe like a little uneven here and there. But once she got into character, she was a lot of fun. Does a really good job of making this character sound incredibly pathetic in a very funny way. Just completely better job. Just really sucks at everything, but she's just so delightful to watch. It's fun. Yeah, especially just enjoy all her little things, like the bit. Like the bit where she kind of ends up parroting Ashitano Joe and with the whole like boxing thing, and gets a random iPad for some reason. That was great, and Teresa's delivery there was really funny. Also like the bit where where they're trying to go settle things with Nagi, and there's like a whole big shootout. and she's the first one who, and when things are going south, she's the first one who looks like she's ready to go, and her delivery there was really funny. Like, I'll see you on the other side soon, my babies. It's beautiful. But it's a really great job playing this very delightful favorite character. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like the quintessential manager moment is her like putting the gun in her mouth and talking around. Like how did you get here? You are not cut out for this job.
I bet she had a relative in the business or something. I've seen managers like that. Well, not like Teresa. Not like this manager.
Right,
God,
but like,
no. But
nepotism does feel like a good explanation. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, boss, I got this like useless layabout niece. Do you have a job for her? Yeah, I got a job for her. You mind if she dies, desert? No, not really. I don't like her very much. Yeah, I got a job for her. You were saying, Jamal.
Yeah, that have been said. I'm gonna save it for last, because let's go from the ground up. Donna Bella Linton is Michiko. I could not tell that was her, and I haven't listened to much of her performances other than Oshidoko. But when I heard the young flashback, I was like, oh, there she is. Okay, I see now. But which is funny because again we were watching this before Oshidoko came out, but it's just shit happens. Jay Hickman, I'm gonna say the same thing I said in the Princess Tutu episode. Bullshit, that's Jay Hickman. I mean, he is a man of few words from time to time, but even still, I could not tell that was Jay Hickman. I'm usually good as telling where Jay Hickman is because of the giraffe and Review Starlight. Yeah. I know he's done other performances. Like that's just like the only one that sticks to my head for some fucking reason. Annie was the ruler. Again, I could also see Hardy's problem with some voices blended together. She sounded pretty good, but when you hear her compared to Nagomi's actress, it's like it's almost a different tone, but yeah, it kind of feels familiar. I guess that's probably what they were kind of going for because they had a bond of sisterhood right up until she gets shot. And it's kind of sad because this little invader cafe she was working for, man, it's like they loved her. And, they respected her. And some of her patrons respected Nagomi too, which we'll find out later on. Lucy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Lucy Christian. I probably forgot to mention this in the beginning, but within regards to casting, you can definitely tell that they doubled up on some people because I can hear Harley Segara twice. One in one episode at the beginning, and towards the end when you find out she's the reason one of our favorite maids was murdered. So I could swear to God that was also Lucy Christian in the birthday episode. The one where she takes Ranko and Nagomi hostage, ties them up in this. That was
definitely Lucy's. Which there's no other way we're going to get to talk about that character. I love how that cheap maid is probably just an actual serial killer.
Yeah, there's so many one-off characters that are not in the show enough for me to put them on this list, but are absolutely wonderful performances. They're just like, what a demented character! I can't believe they put this on TV.
I'm just wondering how many other people has she sent to their deaths because they have to have the same birthday as her. Does she just keep?
Oh God, so many people. Just like this is too elaborate. You've done this before.
Yeah, one-off, more like one-offed.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of that is just like the random sheep.
Yeah, what the hell?
There's literally just like there's no attention to it. Just like he just throws a random sheep in there.
Well, of course they have a sheep. They're a sheep-themed cafe.
Imagine if it was a goat-themed cafe. Anyway, for what little she speaks as Okachimachi, you could definitely sense the little drama in her voice. But again, like, she doesn't get to speak as much until episode 10, so whatever build-up may have been there, it was kind of lacking. But then again, this is not... Okay. Is it that... your mileage may vary. It's not that serious of a show. It's just basically turf wars with maid cafes. I'm trying to fight the urge to make a Crips versus Bloods reference, so God help me.
I mean, that's not a wrong comparison.
But the question is, who would be who, though?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna say Marry the Aliens or the Bloods because Minami has a red baseball bat.
Let's go with that.
Yeah. But Teresa Zimmerman is the manager. Holy shit. I understand where you're coming from, Jet, but to be honest, this character is lacking character. By that I mean lacking moral character, which it's kind of tough to play somebody that's so deplorable. You have to figure out how to go about it without making it her being too hateful, you know? Like, it's like, God, fuck this character, but man, how am I supposed to voice them? And that's the challenge she had to put up with it. I'm willing to bet that's one of the reasons Amon gave her a W for this, because that is a tough act, especially in contrast to the main storyline, to what everybody else is doing at Oiki Doink Cafe. Because she's not the voice of reason, she's the antithesis. And even after all was said and done, like, she's still on deplorable shit. I mean, even at one point when she tells Sheepon to shoot the kangaroo maid, and the kangaroo maid's like, don't shoot. And she's like, well, she's unarmed, but shoot her anyway. And then after she gets shot, the match is like, alright, we won't shoot. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
That's great.
What a dirtbag.
Oh my god. It's like she stepped out of It's Always Sunny into Akiba. I've never seen It's Always Sunny, so I don't know how right or wrong I am. So,
I haven't seen it either, but that honestly does sound right.
She wouldn't not fit in.
So anyway, I start blasting.
oh my god, I walked right into that. God. If Andrew was here, you'd be like, yeah, you fucking walked right into that.
I mean, you're not. I can picture an episode of It's Always Sunny where the gang go to Japan and they just fall into this by accident. Just. Oh, while I sit here and die in the corner, Hardy, do you have anything you want to add?
I'll be perfectly honest. I do not remember any of Donna's performance as Michio. I was rushing to finish the series, and she had just so little screen time in comparison that I wasn't really able to focus, and I can't really make an opinion. So, no.
That's fair.
Yeah. Granted, I binged like 7-8 episodes at a time over 2 nights. So, yeah, I was present for time. Honestly, when I first looked at the list that you put up, I confused Suihiro as Jay Hickman, because he just kind of sounded like him in that particular performance. But yeah, the ramen shop guy he's a cool old dude. I know that Jay Hickman has played his fair share of cool old dudes, as well as, his Twinkie ballet students as well in the past. But yeah, he's really cool in the performance. Annie White as Narula, I think this was one of her one of her earlier performances getting into her career, so in my opinion she's still kind of green, but she makes us feel for Narula when she needs to, so that's good. I can't really comment on Lucy as Okachimachi because it's a Lucy Christian performance on one episode, and it's Lucy Christian, so we know basically what to expect. I honestly liked her more as the crazy maid with the birthday and the random sheep. I mean, where do you even come up with that sort of idea to put people into a giant vat of tomato juice and watch them drown and throw a sheep in at the last minute?
Except for the
again, actual serial killer.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there are definitely people who enter organized crime because they want to murder people, and so there you go.
But by far of this group, my favorite performance was Teresa Zimmerman as the manager, because holy cow, this woman is a maniac. And I want to verify something. I'm not sure if it's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
But is she also the voice of the fish?
I mean, that would make sense, but I don't know.
Really? I thought that was...
And I'm not good enough at picking out voices to say.
I thought that was Monica for a second.
No, I mean, because it would make sense for her to also voice the fish, because it's her hallucination of the fish speaking to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go on a headcanon and say she also voices the fish when she abandons the group and goes fishing for the day. But yeah, she is absolutely delightful as this absolutely deplorable person, and she's my favorite of this particular group.
Yeah. Donna's not in the show for a lot. I thought she was nice for kind of what their character required for the little bit she's in. I at least thought for a while she was there. It's like, yeah, all right, I understand why this character means what she does to Ranko and Nagi. So, that's kind of what, kind of the bar for the performance, and I do think she needs that. I love Jay Hickman. He's great. I love it when he shows up in things. He's also in this as, he's the guy at the boxing match who, keeps talking about how great Ranko is as a fighter. Or, he keeps saying who he thinks is going to win. That's also Jay Hickman.
Is he the guy is he the guy in the crowd that's like, man, if I had more organs, I'd bet more money? See that guy?
I think that's him, yeah.
Oh.
The one they keep cutting back to. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
He's very funny there. Here, I quite like him a lot. I think he does a good job of being kind of like the serious old dude, but doing the thing I think the show does well, where it still presents the silly stuff kind of seriously, and that makes it funnier. I think Jet pointed out, I think his highlight is probably at the very end when he's dying and he's going, damn dipping noodles. It's a good bit. Let's see. I like Danny's performance as Urula a lot, just because I thought she did a good job of just presenting this character as just very sweet and kind, and she has this lovely little relationship with Nagomi, and you can tell how much they care for each other, and that makes it all the more painful where she gets ganked at the end, because she is unfortunately she's the character who's there to make you sad. She goes out pretty well, all things considered, though. And she gets a good strong performance out of it, I think. I like it when she's there, and it feels legitimately tragic when she finally dies, and just a nicely, melodramatic way. Lucy doesn't voice Akachimachi too much. I think she gets Lucy Christian. I'm not going to sit here and tell you she turns in a bad performance or anything. She probably is one of the more relatively dramatic story arcs, so I thought she did that very well. But yeah, I think I agree. Her playing the deranged sheet maid is probably the more fun performance, just because wow, you're a lot. Jesus Christ. It's a good thing you're popular. I don't think this cafe would put up with you otherwise. But obviously we come to my winner for comedy as supporting role last year for Teresa Zimmerman. I think the thing I would describe what I like so much about her performance is that what makes the manager so funny is she's so shameless. She just... I think of that bit in the boxing episode where, for apparently just unprompted, she strips naked while she's being dressed down by the boxing ring boss, and she's like, "Why are you naked? I didn't ask you to do this. Why are you doing this?" Just she instinctively it humiliates herself in an attempt to get ahead of them, basically.
Yeah, she said she was dedicated.
Exactly, and just I think that's what works so well about Teresa's performance. It is equally shameless. There's just understanding that this woman is just a colossal fail girl. And it is funny pathetic instead of sad pathetic. Probably my favorite bit, larger scene, being the bit where she just shirks her duties to go mope around and fish and not catch any fish and talk to herself. And it's just you were such a loser. Jesus Christ. It's a legitimately wonderful performance. It's not specifically, but in 5 years, when they get to Chainsaw Man Part 2, if they cast Teresa as Asa, I'm not going to be mad. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be mad about that. Even if she might sound a little old for the role, I won't be mad. Just a delight.
You know what? I can see it.
I want to watch her. I want to hear her trip and crush chicken by accident. It'll be very funny.
I mean, if Jack Stansbury managed to get into laid back camp somehow, I think it's possible.
It can happen. Shall we move on to our next set of characters?
Yes, please.
All right. So next up we have the actual maids of Oinky Doink Cafe, Part 1, because I want to leave our two protagonists to talk about by themselves. So we have the other maids. They're great. Don't take this as a slight against them. It was just easier to organize it this way. First up, we have Yumichi. She's the popular one at the maid cafe, by which I mean she seems to be the only particularly popular one, because she's the most stereotypically maid girl, I'd say, although she has a really sassy personality on her. She softens up a little bit, but she definitely can do a mean girl streak if she wants to. We also have Shippon. She is she is a Garyu, basically. She's got the blonde hair and the tan and the heavy makeup and so on. She actually reveals herself to actually a very sweet and thoughtful person, despite her ostentatious personality. We like her a lot. And last but not least, we have Zoya, who's basically a Russian transplant, who came here many years ago, tried to join a maid cafe, was basically being made fun of for being not cute enough, and then turned to basically underground MMA fighting as a way to get through life. And then as it happens, Ranko happens to inspire her, and she leaves behind her MMA fighting ways to become a maid again. It's very touching in the silliest way possible. Playing these characters, Yumichi is being played by Kat Thomas, who is known for such roles as Chito in Girls' School Road, Red Barrel in Land of the Lustrous, and Nozomi Harasaki in Shenmue the Animation. Shippon is being played by Christina Kelly. She is known for such roles as Sakiko Michimoto in Boogie Pop and Others, Seri Kyoko in Call of the Night, and Claudine Saijo in Review Starlight. And Zoya is being played by Caitlin Barr, known for such roles as Himino in Chainsaw Man, Melda Dietz in Star Blazers 2199, and Claudia Brawford in Warlords of Sigdrifa. Who would like to start?
Once again, this was where I started to side with up at first, because again, I can understand where he's coming from. I literally thought Yumichi was Christina Kelly. Because, we'll get to that in a sec. Kat Thomas' Yumichi was very charming in her own right, and I like how she has quick quips and lots of stuff to quip with, especially what episode was that? I think it was episode 5 or 6, when they had to be retrained by a drill master, and I think at one point she just barking like a dog, and the drill master going like, Yumichi, yes, Yumichi, yes, Yumichi, yes. I was like, just had me laughing because the way she's just responding, and she has a kind nature. I will say though, one of my favorite moments was the baseball episode where she manages to tag out one of the Mendelians baseball team members with a punch to the face. And she's like,
Yep.
And she's like, well, I'm just giving them my knuckleball. It's always something I envision, if I slapped somebody, but my hand actually curled up and I just punched them. It'd be something like that. But she's a fun delight to play around with, especially with episode 2, because I thought she was gonna win that underground poker tournament. And she explains how everybody else is scamming, and then she flips the cards, and it turns out she lost. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? But that's how Yumichi gets you. Kat Thomas played the character very well. Christina Kelly, I just met her this afternoon at the con, and one of the things we talked about was this webcomic she's involved with, Common America, which I learned was based on her performance in Umaru-chan, of all things.
Huh.
I bring this up because I want to bring this to full circle. Christina Kelly is the happiest ham to ever have at Sentai. Because anytime I ever listen to her performance or anything, she just has this natural ham in her voice when portraying her characters. I mean, even to the point where Shippon gets her own story arc. She takes off the makeup and the hair dye, and I'm like, holy shit, she does look like Christina Kelly. And I pointed that out to her, and she agreed. I was like, yeah, that must make sense why they casted you. I mean, of course, they casted on the voice, but I think Christina Kelly just breaks that natural ham to whatever she does, whether it's good or bad, or when you're blowing shit up with a rocket launcher. But, man, she just dropped a lot of F-bombs, so, maybe an episode where she didn't drop an F-bomb. You can't, can you?
I don't think I can, no.
Exactly, so, I mean, it's just so natural, especially in a show like this, where F-bombs are definitely welcome. I mean, I would like to hear more stuff like this, but it's not always possible. I mean, you gotta have a little Pope every once in a while, and I think Christina Kelly really brings it. Caitlin Barr, again, when I first watched the show, I had no idea who that was. When I heard it was Caitlin Barr, I immediately called bullshit because you don't hear Caitlin Barr do accents pretty often. I mean, I know she has a deep husk in her voice sometimes, but the fact that she can couple it with an accent, I mean, whether or not it's accurate is up to you. It's accurate enough for me. I really enjoyed her Zoya, especially when she's just basically going through the motions because, you get into a backstory. I'm pretty sure Zoya was in the military at one point, but that's just me. I know she knows how to kick his ass and take names, and basically, she has a diehard personality to Wako kind of softs her up a bit in more ways than one. Which, man, that boxing episode. When you see Wako's about to win the fight or stop the fight. No, she's about to win the fight, and then you see the manager just vomiting all of a sudden, and then Christina Kelly goes, "Oh, my pancreas!" because she tried to bet her pancreas for betting money. I'm like, yeah, girl, I feel that too. is that? Well, I would say that episode is wild, but every episode is wild, especially the ones with the ruler. But yeah, Kaylee did a very good job as well. Everybody did a very good job with this section. I don't really have any qualms, other than, man, I wish we'd gotten like more out of these characters at the end too. But it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. As for me, I thought Kate Thomas did a pretty good job, as you mentioned. Definitely the character who probably leads the most into the full, like, main stereotype, or at least, like, whenever she has to put on the act, and I think she does a pretty good job. And I think she does a pretty good job handling that, and it's between her actual personality, which is definitely a lot snarkier, and I think she does a pretty good job contrasting the two. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of fun. Like, it's like mostly nice for the most part, but it can also have like a little bit of a mean streak, or at least can at least put on the mean act when she needs to, like during the gambling episode, or when they're trying to throw a surprise birthday party for Rodko, but they have to throw her off, so everyone pretends to act mean. To which, like, they actually did a pretty believable job there, because like at that point in the story, like, everyone is terrible enough that you'd actually believe that they are just being terrible for no reason.
Yeah.
I thought that worked pretty well, but yeah, I thought Kate did a good job. As for Christina, honestly, this might have actually been one of my favorite performances in the dub. I thought she got the character across really well. Did a pretty good job of kind of doing the whole like Yara thing without going to like Power Girl with it. Had a pretty good balance there. And I think she does a pretty good job of getting Sheepaw's very kind of like nonchalant attitude across really well. Where like compared to like all the other characters in the show, she just kind of seems to view the main thing as like, it's just kind of like an everyday thing for her, not something she thinks too much about. And I think the way she handles a lot of that just kind of helps to make the performance funnier. Like when they're getting into their first shootout, and she's like, "Oh man, I haven't picked up a gun in years," and it's just like, okay, this is a character who's just very clearly seen it all and just doesn't really care anymore. And it also helps that as Jamal mentioned before, she's also the character who gets to drop the most F-bombs and swears, and Christina's a lot of fun there too. Especially during her spotlight episode with the drill instructor, I thought she was really funny there, especially in the finale when she comes in with the rocket launcher to snap everyone back to normal, and I thought that Christina's delivery there was really funny. It was great.
Yeah, and while we're not talking about her for obvious reasons, shout out to Shay Khalid Black as the drill master.
That was a pretty fun performance. James, he's probably dead.
Yeah, I just wish my frame of reference would stop being the fried chicken lady from Food Wars, but that's how I seem to recognize her. So,
meanwhile, my frame of reference is Lady in Cashew Sins, which is like a very, very, very different character. But lastly, Caitlin Barr, Zoya. Yeah, I thought Caitlin did a really good job here. Just a really fun performance. Again, the authenticity of the accent is questionable, but like I think it works for what it is. He does a pretty good job of getting the attitude across, making her sound very tough as nails in the beginning, especially considering the kind of hard life the character's gone through, and then contrasting with that after she meets Ronko and Ronko tells her that she can be a cute maid, and then after that you kind of hear Zoya soften up a bit, and I think that Caitlin does a pretty good job of getting that across pretty well, where she can still, put on the tough act when she needs to, but can also, sound a little softer and nice, and I thought that the contrast there was really good. Really, if I have any complaint about the performance, it actually has nothing to do with what Caitlin did, and just more, and more a fault of the dub script, or I guess time constraints, which is that I'm very, very sad that Zoya did not get to narrate her entire backstory in Russian. Because that was a thing that happened in the Japanese version, and I really wanted to see that in the dub, and it just didn't happen. Like again, I know it's probably a time constraint thing, having to speak in another language isn't easy. That probably takes a lot of extra recording time and all that, but it would have been so nice.
Yeah,
I know. I think the Japanese is helped by the fact that if memory serves, Zoya's actress in Japanese, like she's a Russian actress, like she's like an expat living in Japan or something. So, like, I'm sure it's a lot easier for her to, like, rattle off a bunch of Russian than Caitlin, who I'm assuming would probably have to learn it all from scratch.
Yeah.
But I like these three.
Hardy, shall I go next?
Sure. This is kind of between the first two maids, what I was talking about earlier. They do sound quite a bit similar. Even though you can tell that they're different actresses, they do sort of have the same pitch and have the same voice style. And so that's why one of the problems I had with this was a lot of the actresses sounding the same. It's not really a bad thing, but it is one thing that I did notice. That having been said, both Kat and Christina play their respective characters very well. They are absolute beasts at puns. They are some of the insults and puns that they make are just chef's kiss. And the way they play off their customers, the way they play off each other, the way they play off of Nagomi and Ronko and the manager, it just works really well. And Caitlin Barr as Zoya, I can't really be one to judge how well a Russian accent is, how accurate it is, but she definitely was able to at least not make it sound like a Boris and Natasha sort of stereotype. It's a whole lot better than the Australian accent, that's for sure.
Hey, at least they made an effort to give her an accent here. I remember when it was Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka, she played a Russian character. They didn't give her a Russian accent at all.
Yeah, I don't think they gave any of them accents on purpose.
No, they did that.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, these three are fun. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed all these performances a lot. I just like how bitchy Kat is. Yuichi clearly, especially towards the end, like has a lot of, she's tight with the other maids, but you can always tell she has a little bit of vague contempt for their customers, which I just think is very funny. Like her cutesiness comes across as really like intentionally phony some of the time, and I find that very entertaining to listen to. Her performance of the song in the first episode is also just a lot of fun. Like she gives it a lot of gusto. She hits the joke parts of it really well. It's like it's very good. I like that a lot. Also, like her in the baseball episode where she just straight up clocks a woman in the face is also just what? I do anything? What, me? No, she's great. Yeah, Christine Kelly, I think, is just a lot of fun. Like, I think her Valley Girl shtick comes across like it's entertaining, not annoying. And like I think we've all brought it up, but like the episode where they are like the drill sergeant comes and try to whip him into shape, and she like initially tries to run away, then ends up sticking with them, and then ends up snapping out of it is just nice, because it felt like more of an emotional arc than some of the like side character types or sort of secondary leads get. I just really like that part. It was nice seeing her go through this arc of realizing how much like the maid cafe means to her for as jaded as she is about the whole industry. It was really well done. Also, I wasn't sure about this, but I did confirm it. For this performance, Caitlin did work with a dialogue coach.
Okay.
I think to get a dialect coach to get the accent down. So, like I'm in your guys' boat. I'm not in a position to judge how good it is, but it doesn't sound. It sounds like a little cartoony, but not too cartoony, which I think is a good match for this show and for how prominent her character is. And I think she's really entertaining. She clearly has a lot of fun with this character, who is, she really wants to be a maid now, but she also clearly knows just how to really fuck people up when it comes down to it, and it's a lot of fun. She turns into really like I'm very like she's one of those characters where like even if you didn't kind of guess she was probably going to be part of the crew, since there was a character conspicuously blanked out in the opening for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It'd be like, yeah, I'm glad she stuck around. She's fun. I think I did as a, not part of the dub, but I just enjoy that gag. I was like, yes, there's going to be another character. No, we're not going to tell you who it is right now. No, we're not going to try and hide that fact at all, though. The big multicolored splotch will go away eventually. Just wait.
Yeah, I think they pulled a similar trick as Amon talking to. So, like, again, Cygames knows their jokes.
Yep. Let's not take this too seriously, folks. It's all fun and games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What?
Oh, no, I was just looking it up on Caitlin's Twitter about the Russian dialect. And apparently the Seiyu thanked her for that performance as well, so...
Oh, nice. Oh, rad.
Oh.
That rocks. There you go.
Unity. Umoja.
High praise. Well, there you go. I don't think I have too much more to add. Like, I really enjoyed these performances. I thought they were very fun. And on that note, shall we move on to our 2 leads?
Yep.
All right. Here we have our main characters, as it were. The people without whom the story probably wouldn't happen. On the one hand, we have... you can tell they're important because they get last names, which most of the characters in the show don't. On the one hand, we have Nagomi Wahira. She is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. She has just come to Akihabara from wherever in Japan she was living before, and she is so excited to become a maid. Is really into it, and very quickly has a lot of her aspirations dashed when she realizes what exactly maid life is like in the far-flung year of 1999. To her horror. And on the other hand, we have Ranko Manen. She is 36. She has just gotten out of the slammer. And basically everyone wonders, what are you doing here? You are not maid material, and she is not going to let that stop her, because she is a maid, god damn it. The most important person's opinion that you should care about is if you're a maid is your own, not anybody else's. It's very strong about that. Also, she answers the burning question that people have been asking since the early 2000s. What if Kiryu Kazuma was a hot lady? And you have your answer now. It's Ranko Manen. Congratulations, everybody.
You're not wrong.
No.
I'm gonna pretend you would say that.
Too bad I did. It's gonna be all over the internet in a few months. Or something. Anyways, playing these characters, Nagomi is being played by Alyssa Mark, who is known for such roles as Antarcticite in Land of the Lustrous, Hanako Katsuta in Run with the Wind, and Aoi Miyamori in Shirobako. And Ranko is being played by Cheney Moore, known for such roles as Matsuri Tendo in Seven Seeds, Dororo in Dororo, and Asada in O Maidens in Your Savage Season. Who would like to go first?
I guess I'll go again.
All right.
So Cheney's Ranko. Not my first time hearing her. I did enjoy her a lot in the dub for Dororo, which is a thing I also would like to talk about eventually. I liked her a lot there, and this does sound notably different from that. Obviously, a lot deeper since Dora was a kid, and this is obviously an adult woman. So I thought that was a pretty interesting contrast. But yeah, I thought Shady did a pretty good job here. Pretty good job of getting across Ronco's mannerisms and kind of very like not necessarily stoic in like not not having a lot of emotions, but it's kind of like it's kind of like very quiet and a little bit awkward. And I think that actually did a pretty good job of getting that across pretty well. Is that where the character is like clearly well-meaning, but isn't exactly good at like expressing how she feels about things, and I think that Shady does a pretty good job of getting that across. I will say, I will say some of her delivery can be a little uneven, like occasionally. I think as mentioned before, that is kind of a fault of the dub script occasionally being a little overly literal here and there, and I think that kind of tends to affect Ronco the most out of all the characters in the show. So that can sometimes hurt Kay's delivery a little bit, but for the most part, the performance is strong, and I think she does a pretty good job of getting the attitude across. And the fact that like Rodko is just so deadpan and serious about everything kind of makes her very funny in a kind of like ironic way. Like the bit in episode 2 where like they're at the casino, everything goes wrong, and then like after leaving the casino, someone throws a grenade at him. They're gonna go to hell, and then she just throws it back at them. She's like, allow me to send you off, mistress.
Yeah.
It's great. But you can also get the more dramatic side of the character across too, like as I like all the stuff that's going on with Nagi, and like the bit where she's contemplating with Nagi to spare the cafe. I thought that Titty did a pretty good job there, and yep, on the whole, I like the performance. As for Alyssa Azagomi, I mostly like what I've heard of Alyssa in other shows, but I feel like her performances can sometimes be a little mixed here and there. And I will say I kind of felt a little mixed on this one too at points. I think she did a pretty good job of getting the attitude across pretty well, and getting across the kind of bright-eyed, youthful enthusiasm and all that. And I think Alyssa handles that aspect of the character across really well. Uh, One aspect of the performance I do kind of wish was a little better was kind of, I think kind of Nagomi sort of freaking out about the realities of the business and everything that's going on. Also, Alyssa does a good job of getting across the general sense of panic the character's going through, but I do think she could maybe sound like a little more kind of manic or exaggerated in those moments, and I do kind of wish the delivery there was a little stronger, but I liked it for the most part. And I definitely got a pretty good kick out of her performance in the last episode where Rocco kicks the bucket, and then and then Nagomi has her like brief 2 seconds of going through a character shift and going on the dark side, and not that Alyssa's delivery there and attempt to sound like Stone Cold serious was really funny, and yeah, I got a pretty good kick out of that. And I do appreciate that while Nagomi probably swears the least out of any of the characters in this show. The ones she does get exactly one swear in the entire show, and it's beautiful. It's not to drop from Maid War. It's beautiful. But yeah. On the whole, I like these two. Cheney was great. Alyssa, a little uneven here and there, but for the most part, I like the performance.
All right, Jamal.
Yeah, starting with Cheney. I did feel she sounded a bit stiff at times, but I think that was by design because, as we all learned, Rocco just got out of the slammer, and it's gonna take her a long while to adjust. As a matter of fact, I think they mentioned this was like over the course of a year, the last episode. Cause I heard one of the mates talking, and she's like, Oh yeah, they're having a funeral for Rocco, who just got out of the slammer last year. So it's been a lot of events that have elapsed since then. I do appreciate her character growth in small doses. I mean, of course, there's the boxing episode, there's the casino episode, and then I think when it all really comes to a blow is when it comes to a head is when she's talking to Nagi during the baseball episode, and then you find out like what's really going on and why Rocco is fighting for what she believes in. And then it all came to a blow when she gets I Hoshino in episode 11, and you just start to think about man, this is really heartbreaking because she just basically wants her friend back, but you find out that like all the shit she had to encounter the last year was because of Nagi, to the point she had to plead with her life in her office with Nagomi next to her. But in the end, it was basically all for naught when, again, she gets offed, knife in the back by Holly Segara. It's like, damn, that shit kind of hurts, bro. But I mean, it was to be expected, but I thought it would have lasted one more episode, to be honest. Unless America's not gonna be, however, I mean, I can kind of agree with Jen. Like, yeah, it was kind of mixed here and there. I think probably what it was is it didn't feel bubbly enough to me because she's a 17-year-old that's about to come into this industry, and if anybody will tell you in the service industry, you may come in with your head held high, but once you start learning shit, you realize it's getting real. It's like my old manager would used to say before he retired recently. We're in the business of getting fucked and business is booming. It's basically something akin to that. It's only going to go downhill before things start to get better for her. And it's taken her a little while to realize that. Especially after the death of the ruler. Because at one point she just disappears and joins a ninja cafe, which that's already a total shift enough. And then when Rocco gets murdered, she has a mourning period where she channels the dark side, basically. I mean, at one point I think she told the ramen man to call me Black Pork. I'm like, yeah, Kurobuta was in the Japanese, wasn't it? That would make a lot of sense. Anyway, she suddenly starts to snap to her senses, and I thought she kind of lost it in the last episode because okay, the last episode. So basically, everybody from Creatureland is basically converging on them, trying to murder the staff at the Oiki Cafe. The cafe. And she just starts. She and the rest of the mates offer service, and they all start dancing on stage and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm lost. What is going on here? I thought maybe they might have poisoned their drinks or something and tried to off them. Nope, they just continue as normal until she gets shot in the hip, which I was surprised she managed to stand up on after that until the end of the last episode. And then all of a sudden, like, most of the other people take it out. Like, I see Nagi take out Marco Rial. I see Holly take out Nagi. And it's like, man, this is some crazy shit right here. It's like everything's about to change. To which, again, she's kind of a minor character in this show, but Monica Rial as the lion maid, oh my god. Even showed off her range too, going from big girl voice to Moe Moe Kyun. That kind of thing. I was like, yeah, that's terrifying. But I thought Alyssa did a pretty good job with what she was given, because was given a lot. And then all of a sudden, the last episode, you see her come out of the wheelchair, just spin around dancing, and say, "Welcome to the Oiki Doink Cafe." I'm like, her voice doesn't sound aged up as much, to be honest. But, I mean, 17 years later, I would have expected some kind of husk a little, but I thought she did pretty well with the character she was given.
Dude, she's like my age. She's not gonna sound that old.
Did you sound like that when you were 17?
She's in her mid-30s.
Okay.
I have no idea what I sounded like when I was 17, but like I see your point, but she wouldn't sound that old. She's only in her mid-30s.
I mean, I'm in my early 30s, and I can tell you I probably don't sound that much different than I did when I was like 17. So it's not that.
I mean, I sound similar to how I sounded when I was 17. I'm about to be 34 in 12 days. Not to date this episode, but yeah, this did a good job with what she was given. I mean, yeah, we would expect a little more, but again, we're not expecting perfection. You know, this is just a 90s popey OVA type shit. You know. Anyway, I'm good.
Let me ask you all this: do I sound like I'm 40?
Not particularly. I mean, how long have we been doing this? I wouldn't say your voice has changed that much since when I first met you.
We've been doing Dub Talk almost 10 years.
Dear God. Yeah, no, your voice sounds pretty comparable to when I first met you. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's not about my voice; it's about theirs. So, I will say Alyssa Merrick is still pretty new in the business, so it's kind of expected that she can be a bit mixed. But I do appreciate the effort she put into it, because she doesn't have the stereotypical teenage girl voice, which her voice is a little bit lower on the register, but she definitely puts the energy necessary into a character like Nagomi, both in her that's another thing about being 40, you forget what words mean. Both in her happy phase and her, merciless phase near the end. It's a lot of fun to listen to. I think that with practice, Alyssa can get a whole lot better as an actress in general. You may not know, I'm kind of critical of her and her performance in Oshi no Ko as Ruby, but that is probably more with direction than acting at the moment. So I look forward to seeing how she progresses, and yeah. Chaining Moore as Ronko is fun. Because she is this deadpan, no-nonsense character who doesn't show a lot of emotion, and she is actually able to display so much by doing so little. And even when she sings in her birthday episode, she sounds almost robotic, and yet she sounds like a robot singing her birthday song, and these like cutesy lyrics with this like deep, emotionless voice. It's a lot of fun to listen to, I have to say. But yeah, no, she was probably my favorite performance in the show, to be perfectly honest, because Ronko is my favorite character in the show, and getting her to experience a range of emotions and yet still largely remain emotionless throughout is an interesting experience.
All right. On the whole, I liked Alyssa's performance. I thought she does a good job in the beginning, I think, of coming across as someone who's going into this like really excited and not really knowing what she's getting into. I think she does a good job of being that character in, because that is her role. She is the one who's always trying to drag them away from the darkness. When they're doing the baseball episode, she is the one that's trying to encourage them to actually play clean and not just murderate each other the entire time.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of brightness, I think she does a good job of like keeping that consistent. And it helps that I think she plays off very well with all the other maids and the manager. Like she sounds good in the context of them as that character. But for me, like I think that's a good performance in general. But that all feels like prologue for the last episode, which it's really funny seeing her be a tough guy because her performance isn't that different, except now she's wearing like a black maid suit and aviator glasses and is shooting people. And it's like, oh, baby girl, I love you. What are you doing? Like, don't get me wrong, this is raw as hell. You should keep doing it, but what are you doing? And then it's like I think the entire like just the last bit of the last episode I just love that like their big goal is like we're not going to defeat them in battle, so we're just going to defeat them by being better maids than them. And then she like gets up there, starts singing "Get Shot," and then keeps going. And these maids who are here to kill them must begrudgingly admit this was a good performance. We are impressed, as so much so that one of them gets a bolt in the head for it. I think she gives I think she does a really good job with what the character requires, and I really enjoy watching her like evolve throughout the course of this show. Let's talk about Shady, because I love Ronko. She's great. I love this deeply sincere, like flat affected lady with the off kilter haircut, and everything means so much to her. I love her so much, and I just really like Shady's performance. I like that I feel like it does a good job of capturing the character while not being like, it's not like an imitation of the Japanese. It felt like they intentionally went in a different direction, and I find her flat affect really funny. Like, I don't remember what episode it's in, but there's one bit where she is like handing out flyers, and she's like, "Looking for a romantic time? Come to Oinky Doink Cafe." And it's like, this is the worst sales pitch I have ever heard. I would go to this woman's cafe, though.
I think that may have been the birthday episode.
That sounds right. It's just like, it just feels so perfectly timed as like, this means the world to her, and she's not going to let something like other people not thinking she's very good stop her. And it's like, I love you. I want the world for you. I'm sorry things ended the way they did. You deserved better. Like, Teresa is probably my favorite performance overall, just because I'm delighted by how, like, what a shamelessly awful person the manager is. But, like, on kind of the more dramatic end, I think Cheney is my favorite, just because I think she does such a... And nothing else, like, the episode where she goes on the date, I think just kind of solidifies, like, yeah, this is a good show. This is a good performance. I like this a lot. It is good stuff. And with that, shall we move on to our final thoughts?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Jamal, why don't you go first? Let Jet collect his thoughts and not have to go first this time.
The show was very interesting. The dub is it's pretty good. It's okay for the most part. I will say though, your mileage may vary if you're not into something like Grindhouse or Kill Bill, or like maybe John Woo kind of stuff, because it's one of those series where it's like, you know, you see something out of the ordinary, it's hard to explain. You just have to go in blind and watch it. It is an interesting time though, because, you know, unlike most anime you see nowadays, this was an original project. Believe it or not, like, you ain't gonna find no source material other than this show, but it's a fun time to have. It plays on the tropes regarding turf wars and maid cafes. Most unusual combination, but it works. Like I said, if you're interested in watching the show, go into it blind. Just don't think like that meme with the guy tapping on his head. You know the one. Yeah, if you empty your mind, you're gonna have a fun time. Don't take it too seriously.
So, yeah, I had a really good time with the show. So a lot of fun, really good job, as I mentioned before, kind of bleeding into your whole, like, 90s OVA aesthetic. And just, basically a really good core joke with the maids of eventually functioning as the Yakuza. It's really fun, very silly time. Definitely not something you would recommend as someone's first anime, because, like, you do... Is that like I feel like to appreciate the show, you do need to at least have some like cursory understanding of like how maid cafes and all that stuff works to like really kind of get the core joke there. But but if you have at least a baseline understanding of that, you'll have a pretty fun time with the show. It's a lot of fun. It made me laugh a lot. And it's a kind of like weird off kilter anime original show I wish we could get more of. So like I really hope more stuff like this continues to get made, and Cygames continues to use all their weird all their Uber moves made money to make weird projects, and I hope that those weird projects continue to get dubbed. On that note, Crunchyroll, if anyone from here is somehow listening to this, please dub Bang Bang Braver, just please. I will cover
We
it.
really want to do a Bank Braver episode. Help us out. Make one, please.
Please. And as for the dub for this show, I liked it for the most part. Definitely not perfect, but it did a pretty good job of laying into the show general aesthetic. Definitely a lot of fun wordplay. Definitely some performances I enjoyed here, even if they weren't all perfectly even. And for the most part, it was a pretty fun time. So yeah, definitely glad I got to check this out again. A lot of fun.
Well, I will say this. If you have made it this far into the episode, this episode right now that we're recording, and you have not watched it, then, well, you just got spoiled a whole lot. So, by all means, take the disclaimer at the very beginning of every episode to heart if you haven't watched it, because we are going to spoil it. But yeah, like Jamal said, go into it blind if possible. Go into it, or if you've reached this point here, now tell someone else to go blind into it who has not watched this. But that having been said, make sure that you have a basic understanding of how the Yakuza works, basic understanding of how maid cafes work, basic understanding of just typical Japanese culture. Do not go into this as your first anime, because you'll be lost. Be ready for some really obnoxious puns, and just go into it with a blank slate and have a good time. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, especially on my rewatch, being able to enjoy it more in like large batches than having to wait for every episode to come out. So yeah, check it out. It's fun.
Yeah, I'll agree onto that. Like, this show is delightful. It's kind of just nice to see like an original, not based on anything as property that clearly had a fair amount of money behind it, and like people who like cared and wanted this to be good. I do think for the most part this is like a really like strong dub. I think it matches the tone very well. I would agree with what Jamal was saying. Like, do you like Yakuza movies? Do you like, sort of crime movies that trend towards like kind of like pulpier B movie junky side of things? You'll probably get a kick out of this. It is, you need to know what maid cafes are. It's not like 100% newbie friendly, but like if that's a style you enjoy, I think you'll get a lot out of this series. Put a pin in that for later for when I talk about my dusty old song. I think this dub's really well put together. I think this is a really fun way to watch the show. I think a lot of the ways things have been localized are often like really fun and interesting. Like this is strong stuff no matter how you watch it. And if we haven't sold it to you on this point, like I don't know what else to tell you. Give it a watch. It is cool. It is fun. You will have a nice time. Who else is cool and fun? Us. That's why you should listen to more of our podcast if you don't. We are Dub Talk. You can find us on YouTube, or you can find versions of our episodes that have visuals that will show you headshots of all the people who we're talking about in here. It's a lot of fun that way. And you can also find us on Podbean and various other podcast catchers outside of that if you don't care about the visual and just want to listen to the episodes as a whole. We also have a few places you can support us monetarily if you'd like. We have a Ko-fi if you want to do more, sort of a one-time donation of one sort or another. And if you'd like to have more of a recurring donation, we do have a Patreon set up. You'll find links for both of those in the description below. And if you give enough money to the Patreon, you can get your name read out on an episode like I'm about to do now. At the $5 tier, we'd like to extend a thanks to Marissa Lenti, Megan's mom and dad, and Michelle Travis. Thank you for your support. And at the $10 tier, we would like to thank Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Crimson Echidna, Quinoa Soup, and Otaku Anthony. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to watch Akiba Maid War, you can watch that streaming on High Dive, which I believe you need, and you do need to pay for a subscription for that, but it is dirt cheap, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And it recently came out on home video, so you can get it from your Crunchyroll stores and all finer places that sell DVDs and Blu-rays. Probably not DVD Diabolic, and maybe I should go email them and annoy them into carrying it. That feels like a thing they would actually like carrying. Gentlemen, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Bat the Vidaga, where I'll basically just be writing about cartoons, anime, outside, whatever is going on in like nerd culture and whatnot. You can also find me on another Podcast O&A, where we usually share the breeds talking about anime news, along with fellow Dumb Talk host Andrew. You can also find me on my blog, The Nerdy Abyss, where I will usually just be talking about whatever Shonen Jump stuff I'm reading. And I also do some freelance writing for Anime News Network, so I guess check out some of my stuff there.
You can find me on Twitter at Blue Sky at Jamstar529. Note the 529 still for a reason. Just don't expect to find me in a tub of tomato juice. I'm the assistant editor for the podcast. I'm trying to get a solo project off the ground. But most recently, what I've been trying to do is watch one Blu-ray a month for my collection as part of a watch. Right now, I'm currently behind on Lovely Complex, and I've yet to start Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha. But I guarantee it's gonna be a fun time, because you got a huge. I don't keep backlogs usually, but when you got a collection, you gotta watch something other than just YouTube. I mean, sure you can find everything on YouTube, but every once in a while you're gonna get bored. Trust me on that. Hardy, where can the people find you?
You can find me at the website formerly known as Twitter and at Blue Sky under Spaceman Hardy. I don't really do much. Ever since the Funimation forums closed down, I mainly just stalk Twitter and watch people debate Final Fantasy as to who the best girl is. Tifa. And I also occasionally post pictures and retweet stuff and just general louse around.
And you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, co-host, etc. at Amon Duel US. Duel is spelled with 2 U's. I talk about movies and comic books and prose books and music and whatever other bullshit amuses me at the time. And I have a dusty old song for you all if you'd like it.
Would I?
So we're gonna go on a little bit of a journey here for some setup. As we mentioned, the show clearly is taking cues from a lot of pre-existing Yakuza stuff, mostly movies, certainly, if not directly. The Yakuza video games are part of that smorgasbord of Japanese culture about the criminal underworld and so on. Incidentally, if you enjoy this show and you haven't played the Yakuza games, you should go check those out. They're very simpatico. You'll have a great time. However, what we think of as modern Yakuza stuff kind of has a very somewhat specific origin, which is basically in the mid-70s, a movie came out called Jigi Naki Takakai. It was basically the first sort of modern Yakuza movie. Very big deal, very influential. Came out in English under a couple of titles, like War Without Code or The Yakuza Papers, but nowadays it's best known by sort of a direct translation of the title, which is Battles Without Honor or Humanity, which is a great title, like A+. You really fucking knocked it out of the park with that one, guys. Good job. They're amazing. If that name sounds vaguely familiar, it is probably because a very, very belated sequel to one of these movies from the 2000s, its theme music shows up in Kill Bill Part 1. It's that song that plays when the bride is going to Japan to go murder Lucy Liu, which is called Battle Without Honor Humanity. Great song. That is not the song I'm promoting today, Ho, because I don't think I need to tell you about that song. What I am going to instead tell you is that when the first of these movies came out, the actor who played the lead character had a little bit of a singing career, and he has an insert song in here that got released as a single. So my recommendation to you, both sides of the single are pretty good, but I'm going to recommend the B-side, Jingi Naki Takakai no Hati ni, which I think just means like the ending of Battles Without Honor Humanity, basically. And it's just a really cool like 70s groove, and he has a big monologue at the end, which, I'll be honest, I don't really know what he's saying, but it sounds great, so go check that out. It's a good time.
Well, I have my own selection for a dusty old song that I just picked out.
Do tell.
This one has a bit of an interesting because it is from the Kill Bill 1 soundtrack.
Oh.
And it's not any of the Japanese music there, but you may remember the track that plays over the end credits with having a very, very specific flute sound. And so, it's funny enough, that song was the very first compact disc my father ever bought.
Huh.
That, when I say very first, we're going back to the 80s. That song is Zamfir's Lonely Shepherd.
I don't think I know this one. I'll have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
He's the master of the pan flute.
Ah, I see. All right.
Anyway, that's just me.
No? Go check that out too, folks. You get 2 good songs tonight. Consider yourself lucky. All right, gentlemen, anything else before we wrap up?
No, that does it.
All right, well, thank you all for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I hope the next time you go to a maid cafe, a fight doesn't break out, because it probably won't end well for you. The maids will probably be fine. Sorry. Until then, rock over Boston, rock on Chicago.
Remember to feel the Moe Moe Kyun.
Otaku on and keep it bloody.
Don't put Twinkies on your pizza.